In this short video, we're going to take a look at 3 key advantages of globalisation for high-income countries and 3 potential advantages for developing countries as well. So what are 3 advantages of globalisation for advanced high-income nations? Well, I think the key one is probably that globalisation widens access to overseas markets. In the UK context, for example, globalisation has allowed the UK to expand its markets beyond national borders. The UK is a fairly open economy. More than 1/3 of our GDP is exported each year. Indeed, the value of exports of goods and services increased from 196 billion in 2000 to 613 billion in 2019. Of course, that was the year before the pandemic. A second advantage is investment. Globalisation is characterised by the increasing flows of foreign direct investment across national borders. And the UK, as an example, has proved particularly attractive to inflows of FDI. Indeed, FDI into the UK increased from 62 billion in the year 2000 to just over £1 trillion in 2019. That's the total stock of investment. And that reflects the UK's ability to attract and benefit from international investment flows. FDI, of course, has an impact both on aggregate demand and also long-run aggregate supply. And the third consequence is perhaps productivity and innovation. A study by the US National Bureau of Economic Research found that exposure to international competition has driven innovation in UK firms, leading to increased factor productivity and competitiveness. So you can make a case, for example, by saying that globalisation helps to make markets more contestable. It tends to dilute the monopoly power of existing established firms. And when you have more contestable markets, there is greater incentive to raise productivity and to increase spending on research and development. So access to foreign markets, export-led growth, foreign investment and improved productivity and innovation, 3 important advantages of globalisation for high-income countries. But what about developing countries as well? Low and middle-income countries, emerging economies who are part of the globalisation process. What are 3 advantages of globalisation for these nations? Well, again, I think investment is really key to this. Again, a lot of countries have used FDI flows as an important aspect of their growth and development story. An increase in foreign investment in developing countries provides a key source of capital, technology and expertise, particularly in countries where savings rates are low and domestic investment is below the level needed to drive growth. FDI inflows into sub-Saharan Africa, although volatile, increased from 10 billion in 2000 to 46 billion in 2020. A second potential advantage of globalisation, again, is expanded access to global markets. According to the World Bank, the value of exports of goods and services from sub-Saharan Africa grew from $79 billion in 2000 to $338 billion in 2019, reflecting the growth in global trade. Now, there is a huge issue about whether countries in sub-Saharan Africa are getting full value from access to global markets, particularly given the monopoly power of many multinational companies. And sub-Saharan Africa still only has 3% of world GDP. But globalisation does at least offer the opportunity, especially if you get preferential access to markets, for exports to be a driver of growth. And a third advantage is increased access to technology and knowledge. So access to new technologies, for example, mobile money transfer and knowledge from around the world can drive growth and ultimately, hopefully, improve aspects of human development. And a good example of that is this fast growth of cell phone penetration in sub-Saharan Africa, from just 3% in 2000 to 44% in 2020. And that reflects the growth in technology adoption in the region and is having a huge effect in areas such as mobile money transfer and direct cash transfers, the flow of remittances from migrants working overseas. So there we go, some of the 3 advantages there of globalisation potentially for developing nations. And I hope you found this video useful. Take care, see you soon.